Hello, lovely witches. This is Dawn. Thank you so much for stopping by. This is another episode of Shadow Magic Mondays, where I share with you tips, tricks, and techniques to help you with your shadow work. Okay, so this episode, I want to talk about cord cutting and why I don't use cord cutting. It's not that I think cord cutting doesn't work or it's stupid or whatever. It isn't. If it works for you, great. It's the deal is I learned a different technique that I find personally much more effective. So I'm going to share that with you in case you want to try it and see if it will help you. For those of you who've been through the Self-Mastery for Witches, this is the exercise that goes with the emotional entanglement chapter, okay? So just putting that out there for you. So first off, let's talk about cord cutting and, the method of cutting cords. So in case you're unfamiliar with it, it's basically you're in a relationship with somebody and you feel they affect you way too much. So you feel like you're connected to them in an unhealthy way. Perhaps they are a toxic person who is creating a lot of issues in your life, and you just want to, I guess, just cut them off, right? So you want to disconnect from them. You don't want them to affect your energy anymore. What a lot of people do is they'll go into a meditative state and they will picture in their mind and their aura, and their intention is to see if there are any unhealthy or toxic connections to people. And when a cord shows up, they use some sort of technique for cutting that cord. So then you could use like your athame. Some people use that. Some people use crystals, or just their hand and just kind of karate chop that cord. So to sever it, to disconnect from that other person. And it's best to do this in a very loving and compassionate way. You really don't want to be in the mindset of revenge and how dare you attach to me in this way, when really there's something in you that allowed it to connect to you. And I would urge you, if you use cord cutting, find out what it is within you that allowed that connection to be made, that cord to be connected to that person. Because if you do sever that cord, it very well could reattach because the reason has not been taken care of. So you need to do some deep diving into that and to your shadow and try and surface what that is. Okay. So the technique that I learned from my instructor who was teaching me how to be a life coach. It was a spiritual life coach. Okay. And that took place virtually. It was all virtual, but it was the school is called the Holistic Learning Centers. Holistic Learning Centers, and you can go check them out. They're very good. Okay, so let's talk about entanglement. So we do have these cords that are connected to people, and sometimes they're toxic. Sometimes the relationship is a karmic relationship where I trigger you, you trigger me, and it's like the Hatfields and McCoys, if you're familiar with that story, where you continually trigger each other, get angry with each other, and attack each other or hurt by the other. And it goes on, and you really don't know the reason why. What is the root cause for being entangled with that person? And that's how you know you are emotionally entangled with somebody, is because they're able to trigger you. They are able to get you upset. If you were not emotionally entangled with that person, they would not bother you. So that's a pretty quick and easy way of determining whether you need to disconnect from somebody or not. Okay, so when you are connected to them, there's something happening. You're getting something from that relationship. And if it's an uncomfortable or abusive relationship, most likely the connection is subconscious in your shadow. So, like I said, it's important to surface what that is. In this technique, I want to say you can go ahead and use this for somebody you're not sure the root cause, but just recognize that you need to do some shadow work and understand why, and look for patterns. Really look for patterns. And then you can find, oh, that's just like my dad. A lot of times we transpose somebody onto another person. So your boss could be, you could be transposing your dad on your boss, even if the boss is a woman. It doesn't matter. She's still showing traits that remind you of your dad and that karmic relationship with your dad, that overconnectedness with your dad, and it can trigger you, okay? What I teach my students to do is to first start with using this technique on mom and dad, because they usually are the reason you believe you have toxic beliefs. Not blaming your parents, it's not finding fault, that's not going to help you heal. So please don't go down that rat hole of, blaming parents or blaming siblings or anybody. But I would say first start with family members, because they were there when you were just born. They were there at the beginning and taught you certain things that you interpreted about yourself, and you develop these toxic beliefs. Okay. So just want to say, don't go down that rat hole. Seriously, you'll get lost. Okay. So what you want to do this technique is to be in a meditative state, relax in a nice, comfortable position. I would recommend your feet flat on the floor and just your hands on your thighs, your legs, and just be relaxed. And in your mind's eye, visualize that one person. Don't do more than one. It's too difficult, okay? But you also want to visualize your higher self, and whatever your higher self looks like, appears to you, go with that image, okay? Visualize the person that you want to disconnect from. And if you're just starting out, I would start with mom or dad and see them in their best behavior. Don't see them in the abusive behavior. If you were abused by one of your parents, don't see them in their negative, toxic behavior, okay? So see them as being very happy and light. And what I recommend, if this person has a really toxic connection with you, then diminish them, make them smaller. My foster father was 6 foot. I shrunk him down so that he wasn't so big and towering over me. And that's how I was able to feel comfortable in this situation, right? So you have your higher self standing next to you and there to protect you, okay? So it's important to feel comfortable. If this person makes you feel scared, you may not want to do this technique with that person in mind, okay? So visualize the person in their, being happy and kind, and they're in front of you, and notice in your body where you feel connected to that person. For me, it's usually in the stomach or in the heart. And it's an uncomfortable feeling. It's not like I'm connected to you with my heart. It's you're pulling on my heart. You're damaging my heart. You're making me feel sad, hurt, uncomfortable. So that connection can be in your heart as well. So visualize where you're connected to that person in your body. Where do you feel it? And then visualize it, see it on the other end. Where are you plugged into? Like a cord, like you plug into the wall. Where are you plugged into in that other person? And then feel confident and strong, and just say that I no longer need you in my life. I don't need you to tell me what I need to do. You don't need to be my parent or in authority in any way in my life. I'm a grown person. I can take care of myself. And so I am going to disconnect from you and reach out in your mind's eye and unplug from that person. And remember, just realize that this could be very emotional, especially with a parent, because we feel obligated to our parents, that we need to stay plugged into them and that they need to stay in authority over us and in a parental role in our life. Just recognize that that can be very toxic and unhealthy. And you're grown up. You don't need to be plugged into your parents any longer. What you're doing is you're removing what is unhealthy. Okay? It doesn't mean you're saying, Mom and Dad, you're bad and I have to remove myself from you. It's not necessarily saying that. You're just unplugging what is unhealthy. You can still be in a relationship with your parents. And in fact, some of my students have told me that once they did this, they felt like they could have an adult relationship with their parents because they unplugged that childlike, that childish kind of connection where I need my parents. I can't do this without my parents. That helped them to have a better relationship with their parents. So unplug it and then plug it into your higher self. That's the beauty of this. Plug that into your higher self because that's where it belongs. You need to get that information you were trying to get from your parents. You need to be getting that from your higher self, not from your parents. Only because your parents are human and they can only do so much for you. You need to get that for yourself. That higher self information needs to come from your higher self. You can't get it from your parents. Okay, so just do this all in love and compassion, and then once you're done once you're done unplugging from your parents and plugging into your higher self, you can release your parent, whatever parent you chose, or sibling even, and just bless them and release them from this connection and recognize that they can do the same thing now. They can unplug from you if they so choose, if they need to, if they are conscious of it. So you are now free from that toxic connection with that other person. Now, this is not a one and done. There are times where we reconnect to that person again, and we need to just sit in meditation and unplug. Now, you might run into somebody where you're transposing the parent onto them, and once you recognize it, you can unplug just right then and there. You don't have to wait until you get home and in a quiet space and all that. Just unplug. Just see it in your mind's eye. Unplug. Plug it into my higher self. Now we're good. Okay? So it should be easy. It depends on how you feel about that person, how toxic your relationship is with that person. But you definitely want to nurture your emotional needs afterwards. Recognize that all you need is you. You are all you need. You don't need anybody in your life. And once you really build confidence in yourself, then you'll find your relationships are much more healthier, and you don't feel lonely, even if you're alone, or even if you're in a crowd of people, you don't feel lonely. So I wanted to give you that. I hope this helps, and I hope you try it. Please let me know if you've done cord cutting, if it's helped you. Let me know if you try this exercise and how you like it. And just leave me comments and let me know. Let me know. I love it. I love to read your comments. Okay, so that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your comments, and do something today that brings you joy and makes you feel good. I love you all. And until next time, blessed be.